feel, when I look at myself in the mirror hideously in underwear, that I look just like a Parthenon column. In other words, there's no waist indentation.
But you always had a lot of
I did before, but now I'm much more like a Parthenon column.
Of course, I consider myself a sausage.
Anytime you notice as we're saying all this, we're eating.
You're 5'7" and 103 pounds.
Right.
Wow.
I was in a major car accident, and I had a concussion and neck problems, and then had to have neck surgeries, and everything resulted in everything else. My fibromyalgia came from the second neck surgery.
The right knee has a lot of arthritis.
Well, I just had a hip replacement. I had a heart attack in 2001. And I felt a pain right here. And I thought immediately it's indigestion. And then it was quite clear to me that that's not what it was. And I began to have the classic feelings that you get in the back of your shoulders. And I knew that I was in trouble with my heart. Both of my parents had died of heart attacks. So I said to my husband, there's something funny going on with me. And he took my pulse. And he was trained as a doctor, though he's now retired. And he said, oh, let's go down and get an EKG. They gave me immediately appropriate treatment of oxygen, nitroglycerin. I was just lying there thinking it was the end of my life. So I thought, I've had a pretty good life. And that's probably okay. But then they did what they did to Dick Cheney. The next morning I had a stent placed in my heart. And then I recovered slowly, and I lost some weight. A few months later, that stent occluded, and I had some more unpleasant symptoms. I had a feeling of great exhaustion. And I had another stent put in, and I've never had any more symptoms. And I lost the weight, kept off the weight, and I feel like I have a second chance to live.
I had some very serious spinal surgery. Nobody took me seriously until I started falling down and they couldn't write me off as a drunk. It turned out I had a disc that fragmented.
I was mugged in Florence where motorcycle thieves dragged me over cobblestones behind them and broke everything on my, I'm left-handed, broke my left side to smithereens. Well, I got over it. Apparently my bones are still knitting like those of a spring lamb.
I had pneumonia. Double pneumonia in the winter of 2004. And I was in the hospital 2 weeks, which was a long time.
Terrible.
1 week in intensive care. With inhalers and things in me, breathing for me. My kids came, Tamara came down from Washington, came, and I remember her coming in the room, and when they have you on a ventilator, you're heavily sedated, because otherwise you might get agitated. And I tried to write a few things to her, but I was so sedated and didn't realize it that I now read the paper. I have saved the paper to see what it's like, to try to write, to show what it's like. I tried to write, this is a staphylococcal infection, double pneumonia, and then and then I wrote, where is my purse? And these were things I wrote to her, and she said, and then she told me later she went back to my apartment and cried for hours.
Yes,
And
no wonder.
She and my son went in the kitchen, and I never knew they had cried together, but my 9-year-old granddaughter said, when you were in the hospital, Daddy and Aunt Tammy cried in the kitchen. And I said, they did? And I must say that as a mother, I was pleased. I was very pleased. I thought, they're crying because I'm sick.
I have what's called monovision. One eye is adjusted for distance and the other eye is adjusted for reading. But you see, I got to the point I couldn't read or see distance.
The carpal tunnel is actually a small little tunnel inside your wrist. There's a nerve in there, and the carpal tunnel sides kind of squeeze the nerve after a while. The symptoms for me were I had numbness in my fingers, and I'd be writing a check or a letter, and all of a sudden my hand would just like grip up and I couldn't do a thing, and then at night my shoulders would hurt and sort of my back. 3 or 4 doctors couldn't figure out what it was, and one finally said, well, I think you have carpal tunnel. So he was an orthopedic surgeon, so he opened it up. Sure enough, the moment he cut that little carpal tunnel ligament or whatever it's called and opened up, let the nerve go free, my hand was just like new. It was wonderful. Do it. You need it, do it.
I have Parkinson's, and I had also had knee surgery, and the combination is not a happy one. Parkinson's is pretty well under control. I went right away to Boston, and I was in a study for 5 years. Parkinson's is very odd because it's different in every individual. It's not across the board. Actually, the head of the neurology department there when I first went was a woman, a Vassar graduate.
Do you exercise?
Yes.
What do you do?
I go once a week to a personal trainer. Most important is balance, flexibility, and cardio. I hate that the most. What I do is I ride a bicycle.
If I were really good, I'd walk every day, and I did buy a bike because I really wanted to bike, and I never use it, so that's terrible.
I have personal training twice a week, and I try to exercise a little bit.
I think that it's terribly, terribly important for women to know that a woman's heart attack is not like a man's heart attack. And it may feel like indigestion.
People think of being a trial lawyer as being mental. Well, some of it's mental, but a lot of it's just pure physical stamina. It's the only time I get to lose weight is during a long trial. I lose about 5 pounds.
I lost something like 15 to 20 pounds while not eating, you know, in the hospital, even though I was on an IV. I came out of the hospital thrilled to death. I thought, I am thin. I can wear any garment now. Nothing is too tight in my waist. And of course people kept saying, Hope, you look terribly scrawny. You've got to put on weight. I was saying, leave me alone.
Don't get too thin.
I'll live with it, yes.
They do say that, don't get too thin.
Don't get too thin.
I'm thrilled to be
The weight is certainly a big, big thing in terms of image.
And then it began creeping in.
Yeah.
It will not budge.
Weight Watchers works for me. Works because you eat real food and you just eat it in a sensible way and you're never hungry.
The answer for me, as I think for everybody, is you eat less than you need and then you lose weight.
I used to jog, but of course my knees got a little wobbly. So now I walk, I play tennis, I play golf, I ski.
Well, I mean, I play lousy tennis, you know, that's you know, that kind of thing.
But you must keep in pretty good shape because you're very thin.
Well, I keep in shape just because, you know, sometime, a long time ago, I got this thing from Vassar College. They were doing some medical study. How many times did you go up and down the stairs every day? Well, I figured I must go downstairs at least 80 times a day. First because I can't find my glasses.
Yes, I crewed last year. I skied this year free. When you get old enough, you get all these things free.
I don't play squash, I don't go bowling, I don't play racquetball, I don't play paddle tennis anymore, I don't do any of those.
Do you do any exercise?
Yeah, I go to the gym.
It keeps my handicap down and walking. And
23 handicap?
yeah, but on a good day.
Both Ted and I are, you know, we're really very conscious of staying healthy and eating the right foods and exercising and just keeping on top of our bodies so that, you know, we can go on for as long as we possibly can.
Right.
All the problems that women have with our age, it's critically important that we get our exercise.
Sure.
I religiously walk every day. So I walk not only to get out, but also because you have to have exercise. But think it's very important as we try to stave off all kinds of mental degeneration.
I don't always look like this, but someday I'm sure I will.
Everybody looks great.
You know, we are like what we said we weren't going to be.
You know, your hair looks really nice down, Hope.
Yeah, doesn't it? I'm telling the camera something about my hair. It's terribly thin now, and
That's everybody's hair.
Yes.
Eating was the wrong emotional response to problems, personal problems. And I used food as an outlet the same as someone else might use drugs. And I was very unhappy. Many years were wasted by fighting with the demon of being overweight. And over the years, with the acceptance that came from my husband, I just got thinner and thinner and thinner.
I'm very lucky. I'm one of those people that never gains or loses weight. I really pretty much stay the same. I just don't change.
But I have the ex-heavy person's complex, the deep-seated fear that I could always become heavy again.
You don't look overweight, Hope.
I am only flabby, you know.
Yeah.
Really flabby, and my waist is expanded greatly.
We are involved in a lot of wonderful athletic pursuits together. We play lots of tennis. We play lots of paddle tennis. Also go bicycling in the park. We go skiing.
Quite running.
I stack my dishes vertically. It's much easier than having to pick everything up. This is called an island, but most people put an island in the middle of their kitchen. Yeah. The island here demarks the end of the kitchen, which is much handier than in the middle where you have to constantly walk around it. Then you can get to everything without a lot of extra steps. At our age, I find extra steps are not to be desired.
I haven't gotten my mind around the idea that we're so old. That in fact, with the best will in the world, you know, how long are we going to have?
We really don't feel any older.
When I was last at Vassar, when we saw each other, who is that old person? You know, but after 2 days, nobody looked old anymore. Because we'd gotten used to ourselves.
As I get older, traveling takes more out of me.
A lot has to do with your mentality about aging.
Yes.
You know, if you allow yourself, I don't think of myself as old.
No.
You know, I have a tough time.
Now I'm getting younger, so I don't remember which date I was born now. You know, my resumes all have different, within 4 years. I can't lie too much.
I do that too. My passport and my driving license, it's all different things.
So you die, I won't know which is the right one.
When they ask me for identification and birth date, I don't know which date I've given them.
I know it. On my biographies, I have to think, well, if I graduated, if I write down the dates of when I graduated, then I can't make myself too young because I can't have graduated at age 14.
Also looking in the mirror, I see somebody I don't recognize.
I guess as you get older, I'm more tolerant but less patient. I don't have quite so much time to waste.
No, I had my full share between the ages of 20 and 40. After I became 40, I felt very comfortable in the world.
The decades of our 60s have been wonderful years. And who would have ever thought it? I thought, 60, you know, I'll be
ancient
and tired. But they've been wonderful years.
Suddenly, when I turned 70, I thought to myself, I am an old woman.
I
For the
thought
first
the
time.
same.
70 means you're
70 is a
old.
scary
And
milestone.
We're still so
Yeah,
young.
I know.
I tell you, I also look with confusion and anxiety about what I should do about my own future.
Do you ever think about what it's like for, we're getting on in years and what lies ahead?
Of course.
Yeah.
Anybody's an idiot who doesn't. Come on. Yeah, you got it.
As you get older, it gets more difficult. But we can do a lot. It just take longer.
Every day is a learning experience in one way or another, and that keeps your mind so open. You don't get as old maybe as you would if you just sat around and vegetated.
So the work you did as a paramedic, was it originally as a paid career?
Yes. Right now, my license goes for another 2 years, and it's behind time to stop. Well, I've told my co-workers when I start losing it, kick me and let me know. But right now, we only have 2 paramedics, and if somebody has cardiac arrest, they probably rather that there was somebody, at least somebody that could push the drugs, regardless how old they are.
It's so funny, the other day my studio assistant, and she's a graduate of Vassar, she just graduated, so she wanted to look at my yearbook, and she said, oh, isn't this cute and quaint, and oh my God, I said, to me it still looks very current to me.
My friend Mira says, don't ever let anybody video you in profile after a certain age. I don't mean me personally, she means in general.
They wrote the 4 this way, and the nurse came in and thought I was 90.
Oh my gosh.
Well, because it was more logical that I would be 90 than that I would be 40.
Yeah.
Do people get up in the bus for you?
Yes.
They do to me too, and it's humiliating.
At first you don't like it at
That's
all.
right, it's humiliating. One day, quite recently, I was standing in line in the Washington train station, waiting for the train to go back to New York. And there was a young girl, very young girl, standing in front of me. And she turned to me and she said, seniors are allowed to go to the front of the line. In other words, just like extremely considerate and stuff. And I thanked her very much. And then I said, thanks, I'll do that. But woman to woman, while we're standing here, could you tell me what it was about me that made you convinced that I was a senior and you just, there was nothing to think about? And she said, oh yeah, sure. She said, yeah, it was your hands.
Oh,
my hands?
Yes.
She said, my parents have older friends who are starting to have hands like that. And my parents, she said, don't. So I figured you must be older than my parents.
Oh, well, what a nice response, because I was afraid you'd say, I took one look at your face.
That's right.
Or whatever.
Or your stooped demeanor.
Yes.
My granddaughter looks at my hands and sees the wrinkles and the veins, and she says, why did you put these on you? And I say, it took me many years to get
hard work.
these.
Yes.
Well put. And you won't be able to get anything this good until you have lived many years.
Good response.
She sort of goes,
Even now, I can't let my customers think of me as their grandmother. So I have to be careful of that persona or whatever that's called.
My 9-year-old granddaughter fussed at me once when I had on some outfit. And she said, you shouldn't wear that, you're too old. And I said, oh, she said, you're not a college girl, she said. And I can't remember what I was wearing or what I had done, and that really gave me because I don't think I always wear miniskirts. It may be that what I had done, the other thing she fussed at me for, which shows a generational thing, was that I had tucked a blouse or a shirt into a skirt. And that immediately gave me away. Instead of hanging
that
loose.
Would do it.
And
that
she
would
said,
be a marker.
quick, take that out of the skirt, quick. And I did. And she said, that's the way it's supposed to be, Yaya. So I thought, okay.
There was a young man who sang that God Bless
I think
America.
I missed that, yeah.
And like many young people, you couldn't really find the melody line very easily. And when it was over, my mother very quietly said, what happened to Kate Smith?
Oh. Most of us, our parents are gone at this point, but there are a few of us like you, Ellen, who have parents who are hanging in their 90s. And, you know, we're all 70, and we're thinking, you know...
Oh, there's no question about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I have done everything with my children, the living will, the guardianship.
Right.
I have stressed immeasurably to my kids that there is no way anybody's giving me a feeding tube. Nobody's putting me on a respirator.
No, right,
if
right.
I've reached this point in my life, please do not. I do not want to be a vegetable in nursing home.
Pretty terrible places.
And I think it's interesting though that Rubal's mother is 104 years old. That's quite a record.
Yes, that's true. She's still very coquette, as you say.
Oh, yes.
And cares a lot about clothes.
That's wonderful.
Being elegant.
Whatever you've done, whatever you want to do, is based on good health.
True. Yeah.
Right.